Thank you for joining us for Small Talks for Big Change, where we help simplify financial topics to help with your financial wellness. Greetings, friends, and thank you for joining us. We cover all things financial wellness here on the show, and we haven't yet talked about higher education and the process of choosing college. From navigating financial aid to understanding the different types of schools to finding the right fit, making college decisions can be overwhelming. It is November, and you may have a loved one graduating high school, returning to college, or maybe you're like me and college isn't all that far away for our young ones. And if you're feeling like you don't know where to start, we'd like to bring some perspective to the conversation with one of our directors of retail branches, Erin Moreci. In her role here at Patelco, Erin is busy helping branch locations in the Sacramento and East Bay Inland thrive. She is a mom of two and has a freshman in college and another younger one that will be thinking about college soon. Erin, thank you so much for joining us today for this conversation. You and I have been talking a lot about your daughter, who is now a freshman at Diablo Valley College. Congratulations to you, Mama.
Thank you so much for having me. We definitely have been talking a lot about this journey for the last year, and it has definitely been a big transition for Isabella and a big transition for me.
Congratulations again to your daughter and for starting her first year of college. How is she doing? And tell us a little bit about your family's journey in getting to the decision that you guys made.
She's been acclimating very well to college. I'm fortunate because Isabella has always been very organized and very motivated. So I do think that helped make the transition from high school to college that much easier for her. Isabella is our oldest child, so this is the first time that we have gone through the college decision process, and it was definitely a little scary going through it. I remember really well when Isabella was in third grade and she came home and said, I want to be a veterinarian and I'm going to go to UC Davis. And that has maintained her goal ever since. When it came time to submitting college applications, she did decide to only submit college applications for California schools that had an animal science major. And I will share that before doing this, I had no idea how few California colleges offered animal science as a major. And so what we did is we applied to the 5 schools in California that offered that major. We did in-person tours at every one of those schools. And then we spent months waiting for the decision to come in. And at the end of the day, my husband and I both knew that we were prepared to support whatever decision she was going to make.
And that's not totally typical that your kid knows what they want to do right off the bat.
I agree.
But she forever has wanted to do this, explore her passion. She knew which schools, and that's interesting that not a whole lot of California schools offer that major. Now, we've both got boys in middle school, and I'm not too far away from having to start this process. Do you feel less anxious now about this process for when your son's time comes?
Michelle, ironically, I do not. Aiden has been pretty involved in Isabella's college decision process, but at this point, he has told us that he wants to go to a trade school instead of a traditional college. So, if he does decide to do that and he maintains that goal, I know that I'll be just as anxious because I will be doing it all over for the first time and navigating something new for me. When Isabella picked a career very early on, it was unusual. And even with Aiden stating he wants to go to a trade school, he doesn't know what trade he wants to go into. But one thing that I do want him to do if he does maintain that goal is to speak to different people in different trades. Truly understand, well, what would my career look like if I choose that trade? Just so he has an idea of what to expect when he gets in that path.
So where did you and your family begin this decisioning process? So your kids seem to know what career path they want to take. Where does the conversation go from there?
I did share that Isabella, wants to major in animal science. And once she decided that, she'd heard UC Davis was a great school. So that's really why she said, okay, that's where I want to go. But as she got older, she realized that there are other schools that she does need to look into. And she always knew that she didn't want to go out of state. She is someone who's very close to her family, and so that made her a little nervous. So, at that point, we picked the 5 schools that had the major. And we made sure to do the tours so that she could really get an understanding of what it would feel like to be there. And then when she got the news that she didn't get into Davis, she decided to do a little more research. She decided to look into, of all the other schools that have that major, what percentage of those kids do they admit to their UC Davis's School of Veterinary Medicine. So she took that research and then she decided to commit to Cal Poly. And then after she committed to Cal Poly, we decided we wanted to go down for one more visit. This time we brought her dad and her brother because they hadn't been there before. So we definitely wanted them to be included in the process. And the tour went as expected. It went just as all the other college tours went. But I think because it seemed more final to her, I noticed things felt a little. So when we were in the airport, I pulled her aside and I said, if you're scared or having any second thoughts, let's talk about it.
Yeah.
And that's really what opens the dialogue to look into other options.
Yeah.
So she came home and really started to think about, do I want to go that far away for school? And if I don't, what other alternative options do I want to look at? And that's when she started looking into the community college route, and she started researching DVC, so Diablo Valley College. And that was very overwhelming for her because she is a planner, and she was not expecting to make a last-minute change of plans. So as a parent, I was trying to be very supportive. I encouraged that she also look into Modesto Junior College because they do have a very hands-on animal science program.
Yeah.
And I wanted her to stay engaged through the 2 years that she decided to go to a community college. So she created a pros and cons list, and then she took it to school with her. She was fortunate to have a teacher for 3 years for leadership and link crew, and went over the pros and cons list. And she knew that based on her relationship with her and based on everything she does for the students, she would have been a good resource to guide her. And that's when she decided that she thinks she's going to go the community college route.
Yeah.
And we learned about the UC tag system. So that system does guarantee admittance into one of 6 UC campuses as long as you maintain a minimum GPA. So then she felt even more confident about that decision, knowing, yeah, I can do the community college and get guaranteed acceptance into her dream school.
Yeah.
And so it made her decision a little bit easier.
Yeah. I can still pursue my dreams and meet my end goal. And that's really great on you for recognizing that she wasn't comfortable. And off script here, we didn't plan for this question, but when you guys had that feeling that you recognized in her, how many campus visits had you done by then? Was that the only school that you had visited?
Done all 5 schools, but we had done that campus twice. So technically 6 tours.
Yeah, and after that second time, it just didn't feel right. The vibes were off.
It was the finality of I've already accepted and committed to the school, and oh my gosh, this is it.
Yeah.
And that, for her, became a little scary.
Yeah, and good on you for recognizing it. I do think that there's 2 types of kids also. There's the ones that want to stay as close to home as possible and the ones that want to go as far away from the nest as possible.
Absolutely. And even when she made that decision, it's amazing that the stigma that they have around community college still exists today.
Yep.
And she did very well in high school. She took AP and honors courses. She had volunteer hours. She had a 4.0 GPA. And when others heard that she was turning down opportunity to go to other schools and choose a community college, they didn't understand that. They truly weren't all that accepting of that decision.
Yep.
But today, she's really happy that she made that decision. And the professors she has are very supportive. She truly knows that they're there to want to help support their education and help them achieve success. And today, she does feel that, kids shouldn't feel discouraged going to community college.
And today she's feeling great and she's thriving and she loves showing up for school every day. That's what matters in the end. Right, so let's talk about our community colleges for a second because California has some of the top ranked community colleges in the country. 51% of CSU graduates began their education at California Community College. 29% of UC graduates began their education at California Community College. With 2.4 million students at 116 community colleges, the California Community College system is the largest system of higher education in the country. 1 out of 4 community college students in the nation attend a California community college, and California is home to 8 of the top 20 community colleges in the nation. And we've got 4 of those right here in the Bay Area. So we've got some great options. So it shouldn't feel like a second option, and it shouldn't feel second best or second rated in any sort of sense of the word.
I agree.
Okay, let's switch gears for a second. Let's talk about the financial part of the decisioning. if we can get personal for a second, had you guys saved for college? Were you okay taking out loans? And was Isabella part of the conversation when you guys were deciding?
With each school that Isabella applied to, I was aware of the cost of tuition. When she first stated that she wanted to go to UC Davis, she did share that she was willing to commute and so live at home and drive to Davis every day. It's about an hour and 10 minutes, so it's not too difficult to do. We were looking at 1 year of tuition, including room and board, and that cost was about $47,000. If you take room and board out of the equation, it does reduce it by just under 50%, so it did become more affordable. That was the only school that was an option because all the other choices that she had applied to were not local. When it came to saving for college, we did not save enough, especially to put her through 8 years of college. So 4 years of undergrad and 4 years of vet school. When she was little, we did start a 529 college plan, and then we were putting money aside each month into a savings account. I will admit, if you start earlier, it is a whole lot easier, but life is life. And I really would recommend to parents, when they are starting to put money aside, is look at the cost annually. Take that amount, divide it by however many paychecks you get a year, and direct deposit that money into its own savings account.
Yeah.
Once you take that money out of the checking account, it's a whole lot easier to save than manually doing it yourself once it's in a checking account. With what we saved so far and what we can afford on a monthly basis, we are trying to avoid student loans.
Yeah.
We don't want her to graduate college with the burden of student debt.
Yep.
But I will say life happens and unexpected things do come up. And if that is not an opportunity for us, then I will look into student loans because I don't want her to change her whole career plan just based on a financial situation.
Yep.
I know you asked me if Isabella was part of our financial decision, and we did not include her. And that's actually one thing I would recommend families do different.
Mm-hmm.
I do think that they should have that conversation with their students, especially if there's a concern about affordability. The last thing that you want to do is wait for your child to get that acceptance to their dream school.
Yep.
And then say, we can't afford it.
Yep.
And you can't go.
Yep. I had gone to college on an academic scholarship and I didn't know. And first semester in, I didn't maintain my grades and I got the call from my parents and we had to sit down that I hadn't maintained my grades, only I didn't know that there was a financial consequence to it. So completely agree. And then also, if it's the student that is going to be responsible for paying that loan back. So really important that they're involved in that conversation if a loan is involved also. But I think more than that, when we talk about financial education, when we talk about advocating in finances, that open conversation is always important, whether it's a big dollar tag or a small dollar tag. Just prioritizing the financial part of the decisioning. So completely with you. Just to share some average costs of this is just tuition and fees. So you had shared what room and board would have been and tuition and fees were probably half. These are the average costs for a public 2-year in-district school. It's about $4,000 just tuition and fees. Public 4-year in-state is about $11,500. Public 4-year out-of-state is about over $30,000. And then a private nonprofit 4-year is over $40,000 a year. Again, this is just tuition and fees. So huge financial decisions that we're making here, along with, career implications for our kids. And we talk a lot about financial health and how different aspects of everyday decisioning can really affect that. Do you feel happy with the decision that you guys made, financially speaking?
Financially speaking, I'm ecstatic.
Yeah.
Families do have a lot of support and options when it comes to affordable programs, such as the FAFSA and the Cal Dream Act. I really recommend families actually applying for FAFSA, even if they use a calculator and it says they do not qualify. That was a mistake I made. I used the calculator, it said I wouldn't qualify, and I stopped there, so I didn't submit the application. It wasn't until after Isabella changed her mind and was going to go to a community college that I realized, well, she can go there and have it paid for her. We didn't have to pay out of pocket. So what we had to do is we had to fill out the FAFSA and the Cal Dream Act applications.
Mm-hmm.
Once we were denied those, that's when we got reached out to saying, well, we're still going to cover your tuition.
Great.
But I didn't do those applications because I didn't think I needed to. So definitely recommend people to not do what I do continue through to those applications. And, her choosing to go to DVC just gives us 2 more years of saving as much as we can for the remaining 6.
Yeah. What are you going to do with that extra money?
Save. You never know what's going to come up.
You never know. That's the right answer.
College expenses are only going to keep going up.
Yes. How's those textbooks nowadays? Are they still in the 500 arena?
They absolutely are.
Gosh, so save it for textbooks, folks. If you pocket any savings from tuition and fees.
I will share they're not just textbooks. We went to the bookstore and they called it a leaflet that you put into a binder, and it was $200.
Like a divider with a pocket?
It is just the paper that you put into a binder, and it was $200.
Oh my. All right, folks, get prepared. I'm preparing myself. That's why we invited Erin to the studio today. All right, where do you suggest parents and guardians start first when looking for information or resources?
So there's a number of things that I would recommend. The first thing I would really recommend parents do is encourage their student to go see their high school and or career and college counselor. I think sometimes we have to nudge them to go do that, but I think it's really important because they can, help them decide maybe where do they want to go from here. And they can also help look into scholarships for them. And they'll typically remind them that you never want to pay to apply for scholarship.
Yep.
So that's what I would recommend parents put on the child. And then I do think the FAFSA website is a really great resource for parents. They can use the free application for federal aid to see how much they'll qualify for. I think another resource is the college website themselves. So whichever schools they are considering, there's a lot of good information, and it does share different resources that are available if they go to that website.
Before we started recording, we were talking about, the College and Career Center, your college counselors on campus, and there's such great resources that are so underutilized, right? And we kind of expect that they are in our faces and that they communicate a ton, but at some point we have to be our own advocates, right? And pushing your kids to go visit the counselor's office is not the easiest things to do. So that's on us.
It is. I will say Isabella wasn't always the type to want to go seek the help.
Yep.
Although she was very motivated, she was kind of that self-researcher. But at this point, I'm like, no, you really do need to go see them.
Yeah,
And
it's
so
there
it
for a
was-
reason. Got to take advantage of it. All right.
The last thing I will say as a resource is the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau,
Yeah.
the CFPB. They do have a section on their website that is dedicated for parents so they can compare financial aid offers and understand various loan offers that are given to them. So it is a good resource that I would recommend as well.
Really cool. We were talking about that before we started the show too. I had no idea that existed. That's such great advice. Okay. What is the last tip that you give both aspiring college students and parents to help guide them through this process?
So this isn't the shortest answer I'm going to give, but I do want to give some advice to both students and parents. Some of this is advice that I learned through the way, and some of it is things that I noticed through Isabella's friends and through other parents that were going through it. So for students, the first thing I would say is know yourself. Know what kind of environment will help you do your best. Every student's different. Some want to go to the small college. Some want to thrive at a large college. Some want to be close to home. Some want to go as far away as possible. So that's one thing that I think is really important. And, they do want to consider, obviously, their academic interests and career goals. And research, doing their research.
Yeah.
So, comparing schools of interest, academics, considering campus culture and cost is really important. I really recommend doing college tours early on.
Mm-hmm.
Many schools will offer virtual tours. That's great, but I would still go do an in-person tour. I would create a list of questions that you want to ask on that tour because you have the opportunity to ask other students. And that is really great insight. I would recommend, and this is just through Isabella and I touring different schools, is whoever's with you, so whether it's a parent or a family member, as the students ask questions, have the parent document the answers so that the student can stay really engaged in that tour throughout the whole experience. And then the last thing I'd say for students is trust their instincts. So really reflect on what school actually felt right and felt like it would fit your needs.
Yep. As the kids call it, the vibes, right? Are the vibes on or are they not on?
They're going to spend 4 years of their life
Totally.
at school. They do need to feel right about their decision.
That's such great advice.
So for parents, I do have a few things for parents, and I've learned a lot of this the hard way. So talk honestly about finances. So not only do they want to talk about what's affordable for their family situation, but also what resources are they looking at, whether it's scholarships, grants, or loans. Also, is there an expectation for them to work part-time while going to school? So I do think that's important. And then also talking to the student about what kind of budget are they going to maintain when they are on campus. So you want to consider how much of the spending limit are you giving them, so that's not unexpected for the parents as well. And then being a partner, so it's important to guide them, but let the student do the researching and the deciding. And I know that can be very difficult as we're involved in this process with them. Another thing I would say is encourage confidence. So every student's path is different, and there's going to be enough questions asked from student to student and parent to parent about where is your child applying, where are they going. So really try not to compare where other kids are going and where your kids are going. And then lastly, just be a support. So be a sounding board for them. Try not to add additional stress to them. And then remember that success happens at many different types of schools.
Yeah, that is such great advice, Erin. I think we're hearing recurring themes throughout the episode about communication, open lines of communication, and it's of the financial variety, it's of the educational variety, it's about the feeling variety too. So open lines of communication throughout the process. Now, you did mention getting started early with the tours. How early would you recommend? Like sophomore year?
I would say sophomore year. I think if you start early, it keeps them motivated. They're excited. And so when they are feeling like they want to take a step from high school and maybe try their best, which does happen, I think that remotivates them.
Great advice. And I'm trying to do the math in my head because I've got an 8th grader. And remind me, your son is right behind him in 7th grade. We're not too far off. We'll be doing college. We should do college tours together. And
I will say, if he's in 8th grade, the schools care about freshmen, sophomore, and junior grades. So as early as freshmen, the grades.
Okay, guys, that's a new one for me too. I thought it was really the junior year grades that matter. So getting started now, I got to think about this now. You should go back and listen to this episode and get started soon. Well, Erin, we want to thank you so much for your insight. You know, we can learn everything we might want to learn through our college counselor or online, but it's great to get real parent, real life perspective. So we want to thank you so much. As far as resources for our listeners out there, the FAFSA application that she mentioned can be found on studentaid.gov. You can find all the information you need to know about the FAFSA and to apply. Also, if you haven't followed us on socials, we've got some great scholarship information on our Instagram and Facebook pages. So again, Erin, thank you so much for being with us here today and sharing your experience and your insights. Great to have you.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me and allowing me to share a story.
All right, folks, that's going to do it today on Small Talks for Big Change, where we help simplify financial topics to help with your financial wellness. Happy financial aid season. We'll see you next time. Patelco Credit Union is insured by NCUA.
Thanks for tuning in, guys. To hear more, subscribe or follow our next video. See you next time.